Another embarrassing moment for Joe Biden. The Supreme Court has struck down the president's $500 billion student loan bailout program. And the ruling, the commander-in-chief had overstepped his executive authority. But the big guy says this fight isn't over.
You know, these Republican officials just couldn't bear the thought of providing relief for working class, middle class Americans. I'm going to stop fighting for you. We'll use every tool at our disposal to get you the student debt relief you need and reach your dreams.
Why did you give millions of borrowers false hope?
I didn't give borrowers false hope, but the Republicans snatched away the hope that they were given, and it's real hope.
Did you overstep your authority?
I think the court misinterpreted the Constitution.
Here it goes.
But maybe Biden should save some of that anger for Nancy Pelosi. The Supreme Court actually using the former speaker's own words in their ruling.
People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
Yeah, as you can imagine, the media and Democrats, well, they're not very happy.
This court is a political court. This court is a Trumpian court. These decisions are Trumpist decisions.
And the Supreme Court proceeded to ignore the will of Congress in order to deprive more than 40 million households of student debt forgiveness.
These decisions over the last 24 hours are essentially making it harder for a range of communities to go to college and seek a higher education.
Allowing the courts to legitimize and license discrimination in this kind of way really makes our country not the country that we want it to be. And I hope that they will find other ways to carry through this promise.
All right, Judge, we need to talk about the legalities here. President Biden tried to use the HEROES Act, and the Supreme Court said, hey, Congress has the way in here. You can't spend this much money. The act doesn't give you the authority to spend this much money unless you go to Congress. So when they say overrode the will of Congress, well, Congress hasn't expressed its will. But now he's going to go to the Higher Education Act, and in my very novice understanding, it looks like it paves the way a lot more smoothly.
Well, look, what happened with the Supreme Court is they said the federal law does not allow the Secretary of Education in any way to cancel $430 billion worth of student loan debts. Biden knew it. In 2020, he knew it.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi, as you just showed in that sound, knew it and said it in 2021. And the truth is that they used it as a ploy for the 2022 midterms. Biden wanted to bring along young people and try to make sure that the midterms were not going to be the bloodbath that he believed and all the Democrats believed was going to be the case. The operative statute was a HEROES Act, which allows the Secretary of Education, and it was enacted in 2001, to modify or waive to some extent the ability of a student to repay a loan if that student is in the military, goes abroad.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court came out and said, well, the HEROES Act allows you to kind of waive it or modify it. It doesn't allow you to just cancel it outright. You can't do that. So so the legalities are very clear. Everybody knew that he didn't have the right to do it. Let's not make believe he did have the right to do it. And so he comes out today and he says, you know, it's those Republicans, and it's about the Republicans are destroying the middle class. The truth is that it's Joe Biden that's doing that. He's put trillions into the economy. He's put us in a position where, you know, the ordinary person is not able to survive. The inflation, cost of gas, the cost of food and everything else. And he's making like, you know, these student loans should, you know, they're the most important things going on in the country. No, they need to know if they signed a contract, they have to agree to repay the contract, especially in light of the fact that you're making us pay for their loan that you haven't proved to me that they can't pay. And in truth, you know, kids decided not to go to college. Kids decided to repay the loan. And now the kids who didn't, who already are home collecting checks from whatever else is going on, are going to say, gee, I'm going to take advantage of this. And the worst thing is when the president came out at 3:30 or 4 o'clock today, and he said, well, look at what happened at the, what was it, after the COVID, after the pandemic. You know, all these people were allowed to get money from COVID and from the PPP. The truth is, the government shut businesses down. The government didn't allow businesses to operate. They were entitled to that. The government forced them to shut down. These kids are not entitled to it. End of the story.
You know, Greg, the real irony here is Republicans put 4 bills out. One of them was really great, though. And I think somebody kind of jumped the shark on this one. So one of the bills said, hey, listen, before you can take this loan out, we're going to make sure you're getting a degree that you can make enough money to pay it back. They're kind of looking at defunding indoctrination by doing
that's too logical. I felt bad watching our president get so upset over this because I don't think he quite understands the whole, the meaning of what's going on. So I want to put the loan fiasco in a way he understands. Let's say you're selling Hunter's paintings, right, for like $200,000 each to be paid off in some kind of installment plan. You're out, you celebrate, it's going to happen, everything, and then suddenly a third party intervenes and says, you know what, those monthly fees have been canceled and they're being transferred onto you, the Biden family. Or let's say Hunter's in China and he's making it rain. He got the big guy $20 million, and then all of a sudden Zelensky says, no, that money's for me. We need it more than you, Joe. That would upset him. That's why this didn't work, because it was just theft. It wasn't anything else other than theft. I love how the media covering this solemnly says, and they say this was verbatim. So this means that students who have huge loans, they're going to have to pay them back. It's like, yes, you bozo. That's how it's always worked. Or a loan in a contract is utterly meaningless, right? You can never give out another loan to anybody if you think it's going to be forgiven, because the people will rebel. I would be for this if they forced the colleges to do it, but they're not. No, they're not. Yeah. And so if they forced it on the colleges would not go for this debt relief. So that's the thing. It is all academia. They tripled their fees because they knew everybody was going to get a loan. Yeah. A cozy relationship with banks, and then it's kind of like a 3-step Ponzi scheme, right? Academia gets the money from the banks get the money from the students, and the students, they get their money from their parents. And they're the ones that get screwed. And the job of the Supreme Court, I mean, it's not a conservative Supreme Court. It's not a liberal one. It's a libertarian. It's as libertarian as it gets. It's championing the rights of the individual over the demands of the group. It's protecting your right to expression from people compelling you to say things you don't want to say. Don't force customers to express don't cause a company to express the beliefs of a customer. That's number one. We don't want to pay other people's loans, and we don't want to be forced to hire people based on race. You're not compelling people to do these things. That's what the Constitution.
The 3 decisions.
The 3 decisions are all united by a libertarian power. And by the way, liberals should relax. You really need this court. It's the only thing stopping you from yourself. You got government, you got culture, you got media, you got education, right? You don't need your radical clause in the Supreme Court. That's the ref. You got the ball, you got the teams, you got the crowd and the field. Let the common sense people have the refs.
Kellyanne, on the politics of it, you heard that last question. Did you purposefully mislead people? This is a pretty good voting block here that Biden wants to lean on. Now they've gone out and borrowed money on credit cards thinking they were getting this in a Biden economy. Who's going to get the blame? Will they blame Republicans or will they blame Biden?
They're going to blame him because he promised it to them, and he knew this was a long shot and that it would take a long time because it would go all the way to the Supreme Court. So if it was that urgent and that exigent, he could have gone to Congress. That's really all this opinion says, is that in our Constitution, the separation of powers means the executive branch cannot play the role of Congress. You can't exceed your authority. In this case, it wasn't even Biden. It was the Secretary of Education, already a weak position, having a very thin statutory authority and trying to expand that into $500 billion of debt loan forgiveness. Joey, public opinion-wise, this was never as popular as they thought it'd be from the beginning because people read it for what it was from the start. It was never as popular in 2022. The polls have never truly supported it in fair questions. Why? Because people know how unfair it is to ask a pipe fitter in Peoria or a hairdresser in Hialeah to pay for the student loans of a lawyer in Washington, D.C. or a doctor in New York City. It's just not fair to people. And so if you make a different choice in life, and let's just pretend you've paid off your student loans, now you're going to pay them off for other people because you're a taxpayer's on the hook here. The other thing is Biden just always gets angry at female reporters. I love seeing it. He's an angry old cuss. He's like the crazy uncle in the attic. He's telling the whole country, get off my lawn. And that's not a good look for 2024. But here's why it's going to hurt him. Because he seems to be on the wrong side of common sense in all these Supreme Court decisions. And here's the real reason why it's going to hurt him. The Democrats are screaming about no race in college admissions, about not being compelled to conform to somebody else's belief if you want to keep your business surviving and thriving, and now not be compelled to pay off student loans for other people.
Yeah.
But the Democrats, you can't find one in Washington, D.C., who's for school choice and charter schools and educational freedom and opportunity scholarships. They are keeping kids of all backgrounds, including, if not especially in our inner cities, trapped in these failing schools, won't let the money we're all going to keep paying for those kids to follow the kid and give him or her a quality, affordable education that's worthy of their humanity and dignity. So I don't want to hear one more lecture for one more liberal or one more person named Biden, including the dogs, about educational freedom and making a better life for yourself until they take a second look at school choice.
Harold, speaking of a Democrat you can't find in D.C., if you were a member of Congress in the Democrat Party right now, would you be blaming the Supreme Court or saying, hey, guys, we need to get a piece of legislation together?
Well, I'm a Democrat. Richie Torres, who's a congressman, one of the new congressmen here from New York, is a huge supporter of everything you just talked about, Kellyanne. I think there are more Democrats along that line, and I would agree with you. Two things. I thought that, and I've said it on the show, I thought that what the president tried to do here, they should have tailored this. I think they should have tailored it to only provide loan relief for those who have degrees that really are meeting a need in the economy. Engineers, including electricians and plumbers, nurses, teachers, family doctors, air traffic controllers. Well, that's what our economy needs.
Yeah.
And we're not producing enough of them. So if you're going to provide people with that kind of relief, we should do that. The PPP example that the judge gave and Kellyanne just mentioned, remember, we gave every business person an opportunity to pay his or her employees for several months because we did shut down business, but these kids couldn't go back to work either. So it would have probably been better to pay the loans for a certain period of time like we did with the PPP. I give the president credit for a big idea, but they've got to go back to the drawing board and figure this out. Now, we've talked about the Supreme Court, and the judge, you mentioned it yesterday. I think this decision here, along with the striking down of Roe, the striking down of affirmative action, the allowance of basically allowing gays in the country to be treated differently. This will be on the ballot. No, just this my characterization of it. When I'm agreeing with you yesterday, you said these things will be on the ballot like Roe was in 22. This will be on the ballot again, and it's unfortunate because the Supreme Court shouldn't be on the ballot. The Supreme Court is that branch of government that we would hope would be the arbiter and could be the referee. But they stand today at a 27% approval rating. I think you look at these decisions, you look at the fact they don't have a code of ethics, and I think this issue also is going to be litigated, politically litigated, come next year as well. I hope it isn't. I hope we don't litigate the court. I hope the court standing is able to re-rise or rise again. But we're at a bad point and a low point in how the legitimacy of the court is perceived.
Harold, that you have the Chief Justice, John Roberts, pretty much scolding publicly other justices from sticking in their dissents, sniping at other justices. They're saying the judiciary is
dissent is a long-standing, we have a long-standing history in the country.
I'm sorry, it's terrible for Ketanji
we got to go on this.
I'll
just say this. I don't know how you blame the Supreme Court for the president trying to use something for military service members to give a gender studies a discount. So I don't know.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.